Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new hardware review today with a keyboard. Yes, the keyboard that, well, as you may remember in the unboxing, I had no idea what to call this or who's actually sent it, but now I do. I know that this thing is called the E-Element Z-77 keyboard, and it was sent to us by the people at the Grand Vela Exchange Forum. Much appreciated for the opportunity to review this keyboard, and they're also letting us keep this, so again, thank you. So what exactly is this thing? Well, as you may see, it's a 10 keyless keyboard, meaning that it's missing about 16 keys, namely the numpad and everything associated with it. Also the numlock switch, as you may see, doesn't have a button, doesn't have an LED here because it's not there. It's it's a shock to me. It's the first time I've ever had one of these, and it's sort of a bit heavier than it may actually seem. But is it any good? Well, stay tuned and find out, or don't. I don't know. You may have seen the important bits in the unboxing. You be the judge. So, assuming that you've stuck around for the review, here's the lowdown on this keyboard. It's made primarily of plastic. And it is, it is a bit heavier than I would have imagined it being. Honestly, I would say it's about as heavy as the Have-It one with the metal plate. So it's about as heavy as a bigger keyboard, but it does have a few features that make it kind of interesting. So again, this isn't a metal plate, this is just plastic upon which the keys are placed. They're raised well above the plastic itself over the face. But it is spill resistant, so I'm guessing they have used more material to cover up holes, to make things waterproof, because you can clearly see in the switches themselves there's no gap there through which water can get in, if there is any. Like if there's any way that water can get in, it just has a big hole in the middle of the circuit board for each switch, through which water can just spill through and then come out the other side in these little tiny vents on the bottom. Apart from that, it is about as standard as a keyboard can get, though it is one that again lacks the numpad, which, depending on how you use a keyboard, may be of a disadvantage to you. So if you're doing a lot of number crunching, a lot of data entry that frankly goes a lot easier with a numpad, this probably won't be that useful for you. For writing, well, in my day job I had to get used to using the number keys up here instead of the ones on my right. But I got used to them, and it sort of didn't affect my performance that much, though having to press Shift and 8 for a star instead of just the star, the asterisk key, that's a half a second that I could have done with. I mean, when you count up those half a seconds, they amount to half a minute after a week or two or three or a month. Now let's get down to, well, there's really not much to say about its design. It does have those feet. Again, I like to see feet with rubber on them, that it can be moved up and down. I really like it. Oh, by the way, on the back, there's actually something written. It says Easy PC. I first thought that this was made by Easy PC, but that website doesn't actually work. I believe it's actually probably marketed or sold by Easy PC, which has a different website, but it is basically the E-Element Z-77 Mechanical Hawk keyboard or something. It did have a more bigger name, not MechanicalEagle, because the MechanicalEagle, that's what the Have-It keyboards are called. This it was some Falcon, It was called the Falcon keyboard, or Mechanical Falcon. They have similar-ish names. So, with that out of the way, again, there's really not much to say. Oh yeah, there would be one thing. The keys have very large imprinting on them, so they're easy to see, very, very easy to see. So let's get down to other things. Well, something you may notice up here is that it does have quite a lot of function keys, 12 of them. And they do have other functions than just being function keys, because when you press FN you can do the following: access my computer, access search, which basically this is a Cortana button on Windows 10. You have your calculator, you have your Winamp, You can just launch Winamp with this. You can probably launch other things, but this is a Winamp key for me. You have track back, so you can switch the track before this one. You have track forward, play pause, stop, which again, this is stuff that the Have It keyboard I have doesn't really have on it. Then you have the sound off, volume down, volume up. Again, they're placed quite easy to reach, like with one hand you can reach them. You don't have to do this. See, it's a much better design. You also have F12, which locks all the other function keys, so they won't actually do anything and won't ruin your I don't know, you press accidentally something like, well, there is really not much you can press by accident. What would have been better if FN and 12 actually lock the function keys, like the normal function of the function keys, instead of, I don't know, locking out the volume. So when you press Alt F4 by mistake, it won't actually close the window. It would just launch Winamp. Reversing, yeah, that would probably be a better idea, but yeah, it's a lock key. You also have, yeah, print screen, scroll, pause, no numlock again because there's no need to. And because this thing is sort of RGB lit, you do have the option to change the RGB setting, the option to access the pre-programmed ones and program one yourself, and to save one you pre-programmed, and also to increase and decrease the intensity of the lights. This keyboard, how should I put this? The LEDs that this keyboard uses are RGB. Like, you have interchangeable ones, and no matter where you put them, they have the color corresponding to that row. But the lighting itself is not the traditional sense of RGB. It goes from, what was it, red to a sort of orange, greenish, yellowish, all the way down to blue, and then some sort of pinkish, purplish hue. You can't change those. They'll always be in that same order and always in that same configuration. You can't mix and match them at all. And all its modes, it has about 9 modes of lighting with you know, the pulsing, the always on, the trail of light. Yeah, those will basically always follow the same lighting pattern. And again, you do have the option to set sort of illuminated areas with this keyboard. It has 8 of them by default that you can access that correspond to different kind of games like FPS, MOBAs, MMOs, and you also have 2 other options here that you can do basically whatever you want with them. You can program your own sort of lighting scheme on the keyboard, but again, it's limited to reds, orangish, somethingish, greenish, bluish, and down to purplish, pinkish. Yeah, it's a nice feature to have, not really all that great. Also, the lighting intensity is a bit strange, like all the lighting, apart from the one that launches spikes of light all over the keyboard, they're a bit dim. That one that when you press a key and it just launches a ripple through the keyboard, that one is considerably brighter than all the other modes. Not sure why, but hey, that's the thing that it does. So I mentioned the keys, the switches themselves, that you can change out and replace with something else if you want to. Like I said, you get about 5 of them by default. And by the way, 5 of these keys I checked on the manufacturer's website cost about $4. So you get an extra $4 worth of switches in your keyboard if you want to. These are the Otemu switches, which are, by the way, they're made by Gaote. So Gaote has a brand called Otemu for switches. These are the same blue switches that were in the Have It keyboard, and they work just as well. Like, no complaints. These keys I like. Typing on them is noisy as hell, but it is fast, it is accurate, and yeah, they work. Like, I have nothing bad to say about these switches. Nothing. They work. They do their job, and they haven't caused me any issues so far. Like, none whatsoever. The only issue I had maybe is that I'm a bit used to having a palm rest, so I may accidentally press different switches because I keep switching between 2 keyboards, one with a palm rest, one without one. I should probably just get a standalone palmrest and just bolt it onto every other keyboard, so I'll have a constant experience and probably better accuracy for these reviews. But other than that, I don't really have much else to say about this keyboard. Like, you know, the performance for these keys is absolutely fine. It works superbly for, you know, day-to-day job, for typing, for data entry, for anything that requires a lot of typing. It works well for games too. Again, the keys are not as fast as something that doesn't have the clicky factor to it, because getting that thing to click, it has a bit more, it requires a bit more force, a bit more time to actuate than a brown switch or some of the faster switches. So it may not be absolutely superbly useful in certain types of games, but it works in most of them. I've even played fighting games on this, and I woke up basically the entire neighborhood, but it was playable. Not necessarily as playable as on a faster keyboard, because, you know, all the combos, they kind of take a lot of time, but they were very accurate. Like, I couldn't do an obscene amount of combos and attacks per second, but the ones I did were perfectly accurate. And then I got my butt whipped by Galactus. So, I really don't have much else to say about this. Oh yeah, it does have anti-ghosting and N-key rollbar, so you can slam your head onto the keyboard. I'm not gonna do that, it's a bit painful. And all the keys will be registered. And judging from the thing I have next to me, yeah, it's a compact keyboard for people that don't want this to have too much space taken up by a keyboard. You can, well, if you have a bigger keyboard tray, you could probably put your mouse next to it too. My keyboard tray isn't that large, so no, I still can't use my mouse next to it. It's something easy to carry around, or easier to carry around than a normal keyboard, but keep in mind this thing is still kind of heavy. Like, it is a bit weighty. I think, again, that maybe because of the waterproof component of it. Maybe there's more plastic in it to, you know, cover everything that needs to be covered, or maybe they just decided, hey, you know what, let's make this thing heavy. That could have been a thing too. Probably. Not sure. You can find this currently on the interwebs, on Amazon and the likes, for about, well, the full price of it is $16. Pardon, it's $60, not 16. 16 would have been ridiculous. $60, but currently there seems to be some sales going on with it being as low as 39 bucks. Now, at 39 bucks, you're getting a mechanical keyboard with blue switches, switches that work, switches that have not failed. I haven't heard Raul complaining that his keyboard has failed up until now, so I'm guessing that, yeah, those switches do not fail easily, and again, they all work out of the box. They don't have any issues with them not functioning properly. So, I guess if you're in the market for something with blue switches that isn't very big, yeah, it's an okay keyboard. Gotta say, it's okay. Not terrific in terms of lighting. There's no extra features to it. There's no macro keys. There's no USB pass-through. There's no dedicated button for, you know, separate button for volume. It's just the things up here with the function. Yeah, and apart from that, it's a perfectly adequate keyboard. It won't blow your socks off. It probably won't even make you put them on in the first place, but it works. And when it comes to keyboards, but it works is sometimes a compliment, considering what the keyboards I reviewed in the past. Well, yeah, that's not really much of a review, I gotta say, because there really isn't much to say about this keyboard. It just works. It's a nice keyboard with blue switches with a simple lighting scheme, and it's functional. Perfectly, adequately functional. Well, this has been about it for the review of the E-Element Z-77. Oh, by the way, there's another version of this, the Z-88, which is even more compact. Like, it doesn't have a frame at all, and the arrow keys and these keys are just jumbled together in a very, very tight form. That's probably gonna be maybe for a different review sometime, someday, who knows, we may get one of those as well. But yeah, it's it's an okay keyboard. That's basically it. I'll be back soon with a review for I believe that the mouse from Mad Catz is next on the review block. If not, maybe the headphones from Marvel. I reviewed them. I made those videos a while ago. I'm not sure when they're going up. If not, we'll have a review of the Velocifier keyboard, which is, well, from what I've used it up until now, I'm guessing it's gonna be a similar review with me saying it's okay, unless the switches turn out to be explosive or something. So this has been it. I'm gonna now leave about a couple of seconds of empty airspace where I just stared at the camera because we have a new kind of outro. It's gonna be interesting, I guarantee it. I mean, look at this video. Yeah, that's neat, isn't it? Yeah. You should watch that video now. Oh, or this one. Yeah, this video is cool too. Yeah.